Hello, I'm Chuck McDonald with Crisilla Wealth Management, a full service registered investment advisory firm in Oregon. Today, I am joined once again by my friend Kris Watson of Leading Edge Advisory Partners. Kris, go ahead and say hello.
Hi, everyone. Happy to
Hey,
be here.
it's great to see you again. So, fresh off I think by the time this is released, this podcast is released, your book will have been released.
I hope so. It is scheduled to be released May 15th. And the title is So You Want to Be a Grown Up?
Yes.
And it'll be available on Amazon.
That's wonderful. Well, we
Yeah, I'm
talked
very
about the book.
excited.
Yeah, no, it's great. We talked about the book last time. And, speaking of, so you want to be an adult, guess what? It's graduation season, right?
Yes, it is.
Uh,
Yes, it is.
so it gets a lot of attention for the obvious reasons, all the tradition, the caps, the gowns, the celebrations. But there's something financially underneath that almost never gets talked about.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. For families who've been paying college tuition, a major reoccurring expense is about to disappear. Anywhere from $27,000 to nearly $57,000 a year, depending on the school.
Ugh, my gosh. Right. And then the question is where that money goes next. Because I got to tell you, if there's no plan for it, it just doesn't sit there. It gets absorbed into lifestyle or other bills or redirected towards support for the same kid who just graduated.
And that's really what we're talking about today, right?
That's
From
right.
our perspective, the families who are intentional about this moment come out ahead. The ones who aren't tend to look up a year later and wonder where the cash flow went.
That's right. Well, graduation is certainly one of the biggest financial inflection points a family can really go through. A lot of families do treat it like a finish line, but we're here to talk about how you might treat it as a starting line, especially for the parents.
Yeah, so most people assume financial support for adult children is a short-term bridge, a few months while the kid finds their footing.
Yeah. But I bet the data says something different, right?
It does. It does. Half of all parents with adult children are now providing regular financial support. Average monthly contribution is just under $1,500 a month. And that's a 3-year high up from 45% just 2 years ago.
Okay. So the problem is actually accelerating.
It is. Groceries, 83% of supporting parents, cell phone bills, 65%, vacations, 46%. For parents of Gen Z adults, those 18 to 28, average monthly support climbs to over $1,800 a month.
Ugh. Well, and the AARP data is worth paying attention to as well. 75% of adults 45 and older are financially supporting at least one adult child, and that average annual contribution is $7,000. And 53% of those adult children can reportedly meet their own basic needs with money left over.
That's crazy. So it's not purely a need situation.
No, it sounds like a habit. It's that, or as you know, nobody wanted to have that difficult conversation.
Yeah, and for parents, the cost is real. 42% report financial stress. 9% have already adjusted their retirement plans.
Mm, well, after doing all that to put your kid through college, and working parents are contributing more than twice as much to their grown kids each month as to their own retirement accounts. $1,589 on average to their children, $673 to their own retirement accounts.
And that's the gap that graduation gives these adults to really have a chance for saving.
That's right. So, when you want to have that conversation, and I know you talk about difficult conversations in the book that you wrote, so what do you actually say? A lot of parents know that they should have this conversation, but they just don't know how to start it.
Yeah, I mean, those hard conversations are always really difficult, but graduation makes it natural. Both generations expect things to change. You're not blindsiding anyone. You're just naming what was already going to happen.
Mm. So, what's worth putting on the table?
Well, when does regular support shift from expected to optional? Which expenses move to the graduate's responsibility and on what timeline? What does the graduate need to understand about employer benefits, health insurance, retirement plan enrollment?
Mm.
I mean, I think about my own kids, and it was like, this is your last cell phone, right? After that, everything goes on your plan, right? Being very clear and intentional.
Mm. Yeah, boy, I think I need to have that conversation as a start too. uh, well, and what do parents realistically continue to provide without putting their own retirement at risk? I mean, most families never really actually answer that question out loud.
Well, because like we said, it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but not answering it is its own answer.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And honestly, here's another thing: having a financial professional in that conversation actually changed things. So, Ameriprise Financial's 2025 research found that 78% of parents that had a financial professional in the conversation, they helped actually guide those decisions related to the adult children.
That's fabulous. That's
Yeah.
absolutely fabulous. It takes the personal charge out of it. The conversation becomes about the plan, not about the relationship.
Yeah. And that makes it easier for everyone in the room.
Yeah. Okay, so the tuition payments end. What should parents actually do with that cash flow, Mr. Financial Planner?
Well, there we go. We'll put on the advisor hat. So, retirement contributions first. So, in 2026, the basic limit for a 401k is $24,500 a year. But if you're 50 or older, you get an $8,000 catch up, which brings that total to $32,500.
Nice. Nice. And then, of course, there's the new Secure 2.0 provision worth knowing about.
Mm-hmm.
A super catch up for those age 60 to 63 that brings the total to 35,750.
Ooh, those are big numbers. And if both spouses are contributing and working, then you're looking at a combined opportunity that a lot of families, it wasn't even realistic up to that point because the tuition was eating it alive. Now there might actually be the cash flow to support those larger numbers.
Yeah, this might be the first time this is actually felt achievable.
Exactly. And there's one more window we're thinking about. The years between the end of college payments and the start of Social Security and minimum distributions from IRAs, that can actually create a real opportunity for Roth IRA conversions.
Can you walk me through that?
Sure. So once you reach age 73, you're generally required to begin taking money from your traditional IRAs and 401ks. And that's all taxed as ordinary income. You didn't pay tax on the money when it went in, so you have to pay tax on the money when it goes out. Converting to a Roth, which has the opposite, you don't get a deduction on the money goes into a Roth, but you don't pay tax when it comes out. So if you convert some of those monies to a Roth IRA, then that can help with some of your tax management as well as even your estate planning down the road.
That sounds exciting. And there's some qualification requirements on the Roth side too.
Yes, there are a couple rules. Earnings need to meet a 5-year holding period. They need to be into that account for 5 years, and the withdrawals have to occur after age 59 and a half to qualify for that tax-free treatment. So the window between tuition ending and those requirements matters, but it's a finite window and it doesn't last forever.
Hmm.
So retirement conversion or contributions and Roth conversions are obvious places to start. There are a few other things worth looking at as well while you have the opportunity, right?
Yeah, emergency reserves for sure. A lot of families draw that cushion down during the college years and then never rebuild it. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in accessible savings. And then once tuition ends, that's worth addressing before anything else gets allocated.
Ah, yes. Well, insurance is another one, especially in the health side. If a graduate is still on a parent's health plan, they can remain on it until age 26 under the Affordable Care Act. But it might also be a good time for parents to look at their own coverage, right?
Absolutely. Specifically long-term care
Mm.
programs. Parents in their 50s and early 60s are still in a good position to explore those options, but the window narrows each year.
Mm.
And graduation is a natural trigger to look those things over.
That's great. How about estate planning documents, wills, powers of attorney, beneficiary designations, healthcare directives? If that last child graduating means that you're actually in an empty nest now, a lot can change in that 4 years. And so it's definitely worth a review.
Yeah, and while we're at it, graduation is also a real opportunity to set the next generation up well.
Mm. Yeah. Benefits enrollment for your new graduate is one worth flagging for sure. So, their own health insurance, their retirement plans, employee matching, and making sure they understand those things. Graduates are making these choices fast, but maybe without really understanding what they're signing up for, unless they've read your book.
But yeah, yeah, hopefully they have. They won't make some of the same mistakes that we have.
Yeah.
Um, and if they don't contribute from the start, they may have to wait until some sort of open enrollment. I mean, benefit plans vary by employer,
Mhm.
but even a small initial contribution keeps the option open.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and health insurance is a specific conversation too. I know this was an area of your expertise for a long time when you were an HR executive. They can stay on a parent's plan until age 26, regardless of marital status, employment, or living situation. But if their employer offers coverage, it might actually be worth looking at their own options.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, plans vary by employer, and that's deductibles, co-insurance, co-pays, and the monthly amount that an employee is paging, is paying, excuse me. But it is really looking at all of the basics and focusing on building credit and starting an emergency fund. It's not complicated, but it's easy to skip over if everything else feels more urgent.
And it's one less thing to worry about when that kid graduates, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So if you're listening to this and graduation is coming up for you and your family, this is that moment. So have the conversation about support. Graduation is a great trigger just to open up that discussion. So look hard at the retirement contribution limits. Don't let your estate documents slide one more year.
Hey, and remember, you don't have to solve everything at once, right? By starting before that last tuition check clears can make all the difference.
Yep. And if you want help thinking through what that transition looks like for you and your family, that's why we're here.
That's right. That's right. You can provide the financial advice and hey, look for my book and get a great resource to help guide you through the conversations.
Oh, that's great. Well, Kris, as always, my friend, it's great to see you. I really appreciate you jumping on today.
Yeah, great to seeing you again, and thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care.